Shalom, everyone, and good evening from Galilee, from Israel. I'm Amir Tsarfati, and this is our Mideast update from Connect here in the Jezreel Valley. And we're going to start with some breaking news and, of course, a packed program on so many things in Israel, in the Middle East, and, of course, all around the world. But let me start with a prayer. Father, I thank you so much that technology is in your hands, and you are allowing us to use it at your pleasure. And we ask now that through this technology, you will allow us to give the world not only accurate picture of what is going on, but also give hope and give some comfort. And Father, we ask that people will be encouraged as we are approaching those times and seasons that we've learned about and talked about and read about so many times. We thank you and we bless you that you're in full control, and we give you this update in Yeshua's name. Amen. So shalom, everyone. I'm Amir Tsarfati. Sorry for the short delay for technical issues. In breaking news, folks, a barrage of 40 rockets from Lebanon hit the Golan Heights and killed 2 Israeli women inside a car, and that is in retaliation to an Israeli drone attack on a senior member of Hezbollah that was driving from Lebanon to Damascus, and he is Yasser Nimr Karnabash, the man who used to be the personal bodyguard of Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah. Together with him, according to some sources, there was a senior member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. We are not 100% sure, but again, online there are reports on Ali Akbar Sohani, again, another member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And these two colluded when it comes to bringing people and weapons from Syria all the way to Lebanon. So Hezbollah's leader is extremely angry. One of his closest friends died. Again, the barrage came immediately after 2 Israeli women were killed. And we are expecting a very tough day tomorrow, as always, when we eliminate a key figure in Hezbollah. I don't know why we're waiting, why we are not the people that are retaliating. But listen, it's a very complicated situation, and it's complicated because we still have a war in Gaza, and this is exactly where I want to start this update. So let's go straight to a Gaza update. Later on, we'll do a northern border update. We'll talk about what's going on in Iran, because some things are going on there, not only a new president, but also other things. We'll talk about the elections in France and the UK, what's going on in Europe, Turkish-Arab tensions, an attack on Kiev, Ukraine, and much more. Let's start with Gaza and dive into a Gaza update by looking at the map and understanding what is going on the ground. Take a look at the map. Remember, on the southwestern corner of the map of Israel, there's the Gaza Strip. And if you remember last week, we explained that the strip is divided to 5 different zones. The northern zone, Gaza City, the central camps, and of course you have Khan Yunis and Rafah on the border with Egypt. Remember, Israel is fully controlling 2 corridors. One is the one you see right now, the Netzarim corridor, and the other one is down south on the border with Egypt, and it is the Philadelphia corridor. Israeli presence there is serving 2 purposes. A, to stop the flow of weapons from the side of Egypt and the flow of terrorists from the south to the north, but also to be able to launch raids from where we are into areas where we believe Hamas is regrouping and its terrorists are emerging out of tunnels. We still have a few thousands of Hamas terrorists there. Now, these are the active combat zones that we have right now. 2 of them are in Rafah, one in the city and one up north by the beach. There is, of course, the raid into Khan Yunis, and just about a few minutes ago, another raid on terrorist home with 20 fatalities there. These are all Hamas terrorists. We are working in Nutzerat and El Burej, also in the central camps, and of course, the deadly terrorist hubs of Gaza City, the neighborhood of Shajaiya, and also the area of Zaytun. And as you can see, this is Shajaiya. This is where most of the terrorists came out of on October 7th. And look what it looks like right now. In fact, in recent days, not only that we killed 150 terrorists there, but we also exposed tunnels, 6 different tunnels, and we blew them up, 6 kilometers long tunnels. Take a look at this. We blew them up. This is one of them. Another one is blown up right here, you see. And again, not only that we destroy tunnels, we kill terrorists, we find rockets, we find launchers, we find weapons. It's psychopaths. Everywhere we go, we find rockets, grenades, explosives, RPGs. And it's crazy. Not only that, by the way, in a few seconds you'll see what else we found. And so this is basically what we have in that area. I also want you to know that Hamas is literally abusing, torturing, and killing its own people. As I said before, Hamas is the one that is taking over all the food trucks and storing it for their own use. And when innocent civilians want to take food in order to feed their own families, take a look at what Hamas is doing to them. They capture them. They spray the word thief in Arabic on their back. They beat them up like animals. Take a look at the hard beating that these people are going through. Look at the guy that is on the floor and the massive beating that he's going through right now with sticks and with bats. And hours later, that's how we found them right by the side of the road with the word thief on their back, dead. And that's it. Hamas is killing its own people. And I don't think we see any outrage, any rally, any protest anywhere. No one cares because it's not the Israelis that did it. So why should we care about it? Why should we protest against it? This is the hypocrisy that we have to deal with. Yesterday, the IDF held a briefing in which it chose some of the reporters the things that we found in Gaza when it comes to literature and when it comes to written and printed materials there. In fact, take a look at this particular thing. Now, you would think that they were training against military camps, but this is an image of a Hamas training camp in Gaza where we notice that the layout is not of a training of an Israeli military base, but it's that of an Israeli kibbutz based on intelligence gathered by, guess who? Gazan workers on a work permit. We give them work permit to come to our kibbutzim, and that's what they do. They give. Now, take a look at what else we found. This is a book of Mein Kampf in Arabic. But we also found other books. There's a children book about killing Jews with their cars. And this one is also a book about the history of the Jews, where the worst anti-Semitic tropes of history are presented as a fact. A book colorfully titled The End of the Jews is also there. And of course, what I showed you earlier, and no home is complete without a copy of Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler's book, in Arabic as well. Not only that, by the way, we found an ID of Ashraf Mahed El Madoun. This is his ID, and guess what? The ID is right there, and on photos of him with his family and of him as an Islamic Jihad terrorist. And by the way, he also participated in the massacre of October 7th. That's who the UN is hiring. These are United Nations workers. If that's not enough, we also found a book, a collection of religious decrees, fatwas, that gave the massacrists religious justification to do the unspeakable things that they did. Take a look at this note that we found in the pocket of one of the terrorists. It's a chilling note that we found in a terrorist in Sderot. It says there, commander's message to his soldiers: know that this enemy of yours is an incurable disease, except for head decapitation and uprooting hearts and livers. And on the back page, objectives for the raid: restaurants, bakeries, taxi stations. It also contains a Quranic reference to justify the rape of women. And yes, they came ready for rape. Take a look at this one, a translation guide for Hamas terrorists explaining how they say in Hebrew phrases such as women here, children here, take off your pants or take off your clothes. Trust me, they came ready for a rape. If that's not enough, folks, Hamas was making money via the United Nations. We found that they would regularly have property ownership relationship with UNRWA as a money-making scheme on the side, and that's one of these contracts. And last but not least, a sample of guides and manuals found on terrorists, including ISIS instruction on how to create a toxic gas weapon. These are the things that we found in Gaza, in homes of so many terrorists and so many families. These are children books, these are photos of families, these are IDs, and these are Quranic verses, books. That's what they are there for. They're not there to have good life or to have their own state. They're there to kill the Jews and to take ours so we don't have a state. That's basically the story, and it is definitely a terrible thing. Now that's Gaza, and again, we're killing them, we're destroying them, we are eliminating them, and they don't like it. Trust me, they are under a lot of pressure right now. That's why they are making sounds that they want a deal right now, because they understand the longer it takes, we take more land, we find more tunnels, we destroy more weapons, and we kill more terrorists. So they understand it's not going as planned. They really hope that by now this Israeli government would have fallen, and they were hoping that somehow the world would be pressing us to stop the war. They're pretty much enraged that we're still going on 9 months after October 7th. Let's go now to the northern border. Again, we started with the terrible breaking news of the death of 2 women from a direct hit of a Hezbollah rocket. And of course, that's because we just eliminated someone very important to Hassan Nasrallah. On Saturday, we eliminated also someone else. But before that, let's dive into the border map and try to show you how it looks like and where is it that we mostly eliminate those terrorist commanders. So here you go. You see along the border in the north, we're attacking. We're trying to get them in so many different places. But those 2 major active combat zones that you see are basically where we eliminate their terrorists. It's in the territory of Tyre, right by the sea, and it's in the territory of Baalbek in the Baqa Valley up north. And of course, this is where we eliminated several of their commanders. In fact, if you remember, on January, we actually eliminated Wissam El Tawil, the commander of the Radwan force. He's the one on the left, down below. The one in the center was eliminated on June 11th. This is Sami Abdullah Talib, the commander of the Nasser unit. And as of Wednesday, we eliminated the Muhammad Nasser, who is the leader or the commander of the Aziz unit. And of course, every time we eliminate one of these biggies, Israel is expecting a huge barrage. And the latest one that we killed on Wednesday caused Thursday to be the toughest day in the war in the north, with hundreds of rockets and missiles and drone attacks. You can clearly see direct hits in different places. Look at this one. Boom, it hits right now. These are drones, these are missiles, these are anti-tank rockets, and they cause fires in so many places, so many different locations along northern Israel. And we even acquired or obtained some photos taken by an Israeli photographer who's been serving as a soldier in the reserve unit since October 7. Look at this. I mean, northern Israel was burning last Thursday as a result of the elimination of Mohammed Nasser. And if you don't understand what these brigades are or units are, take a look at this map that shows you Hezbollah has several units along the border and further up north. We didn't care much about the unit up in the depth of Lebanon, but those that are sitting on our border, you can clearly see the Nasser unit, which is part of the effort of war on the western part of the border, and there is the Aziz unit. And both lost their commanders, and Israel continues to go after the upper echelon, the top command of Hezbollah, in order to, of course, hurt their efforts. And if that's not enough, Iranian ships continue to arrive in Syria and offload some weapons. And last night, Israeli jets attacked the area of Banyas, not far from Latakia's port. And we do have reports that some of the weapons that were offloaded from Iranian ships was, of course, destroyed. By the way, just so you know, we believe that Iran gave a directive to its proxies to start a new front from Syria. They understand that they're losing Gaza. They want to keep Israel busy not only with Hezbollah, but also from the east, from Syria. And all of that is, of course, to cover up for what they are doing. What is it that they're doing? Let's move to Iran. There's a new president, President Masoud Pezeshkian. Masoud Pezeshkian. He's known to be from the reformist line. You're probably asking yourself, what do you mean reformist? Well, among the Iranian regime, and by the way, when I talk about Iran, I don't talk about the Iranian people. We love them. They hate their regime. Most of them don't agree. Most of them love Israel. But the Islamic regime of Iran is diabolic, demonic, satanic. And within that camp, there are the hardliners and the reformists. There are those who want to go all the way by force, and there's those who believe that you can actually deceive the world with negotiations and diplomatic efforts. He is from that reformist camp. And why do you think the supreme leader kind of allowed him to win? They can smell that something is going to happen in America in the elections. They understand that it's better to have someone softer than someone harder in order to deal with a possible change in the White House. And so that's as far as the new president is. But now let me tell you that we obtained some footage from missile bases in Iran. Not only that they're working hard on reaching not just a bomb but nuclear weapon. I'm not talking about only the warheads, but we're talking about ballistic missiles. These are missile bases, and over the past few months, we've noticed that they've added dozens of new buildings. Basically, what they've added is assembly lines and production lines of ballistic missiles and drones, because there is a great demand. Demand for what? Demand for drones in Russia and in Yemen. Of course, the Russians are using drones against Ukraine, and the Yemenites against us, and against some ships in the Red Sea. But also, they are working hard on producing more ballistic missiles to smuggle them from Iran to Iraq, from Iraq into Syria, from Syria into Lebanon. And that was the job of Yasser Nimr Karnabash that we just eliminated a few hours ago. So we are watching what is going on over there in Iran. Now, there were elections last week and this weekend in the UK and in France. Now, make sure you understand that the results of the elections that are being reflected in the parliaments of both countries are not exactly reflecting the majority of the people. And let me explain this. These are the results of the British Parliament elections. Take a look at what happened. In the British system, the winner takes it all, which means that you can have a majority of conservatives, but if they are not united, then the Labour candidate can get more and he will take it all. And he will send from that district a member to Parliament. Therefore, although if you combine the Conservatives, they do have more, the Labour candidates won in more places because they were, running against a split camp, and that's why they obtained more seats in the Parliament. It's not like the Labour got many more popular votes. The Labour just was smart not to divide its ranks, and that's it. And the same happened in France. In the first round, we know that Le Pen won. But what Macron did, he ordered his people to drop from the race in order for the far left to receive all the center and the left votes, so they can beat Le Pen's in each district, and eventually take from her the first place in the majority in the parliament. And then these are the numbers, as you can clearly see right now. The numbers, she had 37%, yet only 143 seats, when the others had less. But remember, they were united. They dropped candidates that might have caused them to lose votes, and therefore they were able to send more candidates, and eventually she now ranked number 3. But again, look at what's going on there. Macron is the second. The hard wing of the far left, Mélenchon, he got the first. And this is a coalition of lunatics who wants to literally, I just read, Mélenchon wants to raise taxes of the rich people to 90%. 90%. You know what's going to happen to France? All the rich people are going to leave. The income of the economy and the government will drop, and it will be another Venezuela. And this is what the left is great in doing, destroying and bringing countries into poverty and crime. And I don't even know what's going to happen. Look, even when they win, look what's happened in the streets of Paris. By the way, look for a French flag here. Show me one. This is their victory rally in the Place de la République in Paris. And in the evening, when the sun was setting, look what they did to the streets of Paris. And again, that's when they won. Look at them. They're setting on fire everything. I have on Telegram, and maybe you need to know, but right here, there's a QR code of my Telegram channel. Over there, I show much more. There's a lot of things I cannot show here on YouTube. But I need you to understand that there, I even show migrants that are burning the French flag. They hate France. They hate the French flag. They're there just to use and abuse. And think about it, folks. I want you to know that they're supposed to host the Olympic Games this summer. I'm not sure how it's going to happen. But Europe is in shambles, and this is exactly why Le Pen joined forces with Viktor Orban of Hungary to put together a large fraction and party in the European Parliament. They're becoming the third largest in the European Parliament. Europe is going through crazy things, and you need to understand, both in the UK and Europe, that the Muslims there, they understand that They have time, they have patience. They understand that right now they might be the minority, so they can actually use democracy and abuse it. Take a look at what they're saying in the streets of London.
1,000 people die every year because of the alcohol. We are sick and tired of democracy, and we are here to provide you an alternative, and that is the Sharia. That is Islam. Oh, people of Britain, take a look around you. Do you not see the corruption? Do you not see the oppression? Look to how your democracy, it failed in the coalition government. Look to how your democracy...
Well, if that's not enough, folks, in Europe, that was UK. And by the way, I'm not saying that the British people don't like democracy. I'm talking about the Muslims there that understand that it's just a step towards this. But take a look at what European imams are preaching when it comes to democracy. Look at their style of democracy. Take a look at this one.
By people. The government by people. That the legislators are human beings, not the creator of human beings. That is democracy. So if you mean by democracy that you come up with your own law, and then you punish people according to this own law, if you call this democracy, then Islam outright rejects that. Because this kind of democracy entails injustice to human beings. You don't know what is suitable for them, Allah knows. Allah knows. So if you go on to contradict and oppose the revelation of Allah, then we say no democracy.
There you go. If you come against the revelation of Allah, then we say no democracy. So they're using democracy to have freedom of speech, to bring whatever they brought from their original countries, and to eventually take democracy from democracy-loving countries and bring about their own thing. This is what Europe is dealing with. And let me tell you this, folks. I personally believe that the Antichrist is going to rise from Europe. And I believe that it's not going to be a Muslim. I think that what's going on with the Muslims is going to take the Europeans to the streets eventually to look for a deliverer, for some leader that will bring an end to what this phenomena is going to do to Europe. So what we're seeing now is the catalyst eventually to the rise of the Antichrist, which should, by the way, not surprise any of us, but also maybe even encourage us, because he cannot show his true face. He cannot emerge before we are out of here. Remember, last week I told you about Turkish-Arab tensions following the rape of a 5-year-old Turkish girl by a Syrian refugee in Turkey. Of course, that brought up, that surfaced the hatred that for many, many years Turks have towards Arabs. They feel like the Arabs are inferior to them. They may be Muslims, but when it comes to the tribal affiliation, the Turkmens believe that they're superior, just like the Persians believe that they're superior to the Arabs. And so they believe that the rape and the violence and all of that thing comes from those refugees that come from Arab places and from Syria, and they want them out. And take a look at the streets in some Turkish cities right now when they identify a group of Syrian people, family or people inside a vehicle. Look what they did to them, to Syrians that they identified in the streets of Turkish towns. Take a look. They're just hitting them. In some cases, they brutally injured many of them. And in response, the Syrians are now angry with the Turks, and in northern Syria, where there are Turkish bases, look what they do to them. They take down the Turkish flags, and by the way, they step on them, they burn them later on. They're super angry with the Turks. So here you have Muslims, Sunnis, and yet they hate each other because now it's not about the religious affiliation, it's the tribal affiliation. And they can clearly see that there is a difference between the two. Yesterday, a deadly missile attack from Russia on Kiev and other towns in Ukraine. Take a look at what happened in Kiev in broad daylight. Take a look at this one. A missile, another one that hit earlier, another one that is raining from the sky. once again, and if that's not enough, another one is hitting. And let me make it very clear, Russia, just so you understand, Russia launched 38 cruise missiles. The Ukrainian air defense system managed to shoot down 30 of them, but 8 hit. And in one case at least, if not more, it hit hospitals. One of the hospitals was Children's Hospital. 41 Ukrainians died, of which there were children and nurses, and they're still taking people out of the rubble there. And we're talking about a war crime. Okay, it's funny how the Russians are lecturing us about what we do in Gaza against terrorists and population that is covering up on terrorists that are under the ground holding hostages after they massacred 1,200 Israelis and they took 250 hostages. What happened in Kiev? What happened to the pediatric hospital over there? They did nothing to the Russians. And trust me, no one is holding Russia responsible, accountable. There are no marches in the streets of Russia, of Europe, marches in the streets of European capitals in America. No, it's not happening. Why? Because of the hypocrisy of our world. You know, I want you to know that you are in some countries, either in Australia or South Africa or in Europe or in America, and you see the mob, and you see the mob is chanting things against Israel. Let me conclude with this. Who you are identifying and standing with is far more important than who the mob is standing for. God has judged Israel for its sins. But God is, and will always judge the enemies of Israel for their hatred of his people. Don't ever let the spiritual state of the people of Israel serve as an excuse to hate them and come against them. The Bible says in Zechariah 2:8, "For this is what the Lord Almighty says, after the glorious one has sent me against the nations that have plundered you. For whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye." That's what Zechariah said about God and how he looks at Israel. The Lord allowed the Babylonian conquest and the captivity of his people. But guess what? He then judged the Babylonians for what they did. In Jeremiah 51, he says, "And I will repay Babylon and all the inhabitants of Chaldea for all the evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, says the Lord. And as Babylon has caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon the slain of the earth, all the earth, shall fall." Jeremiah 51. So coming against Israel and blaming Israel for doing this and for doing that, or for not being, followers of the Lord and all of that, guys, this is not the issue. Israel was brought back to the land by a godly decree. He's the one who brought us back. He has a plan for the Jewish people. Eventually, they're all going to get saved. You have to understand that coming against Israel is coming against the God of Israel. And who cares what the mob is saying? It matters what you are saying. And I'm so amazed at the hundreds of photos that are being sent to us of churches and families and Bible groups standing firm with Israeli flags, praying for the nation of Israel, praying for the people, for the peace of Jerusalem, for the hostages and their families and their soldiers. That's what you need to do. This is the right side where you need to stand. And do not let the mob, look who is on their side. Look at the demonic, deranged people that are on that camp. Do not belong to them. Neither if you're, I don't know if you're a liberal or if you are a far right conservative, who cares? Don't fall into that trap of anti-Semitism, which is flooding Europe and flooding America, online, on social media, in the street. Don't take part of it. God is watching. Be on the right side. This is it, folks. I want to conclude today with the Aaronic blessing, and this time you're going to see the blessing even on the screen. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונקה, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. The Lord bless you and keep you, the Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, the Lord lift up his countenance towards you and give you his peace. B'Shem Yeshua. Amen. Remember folks, QR code, Telegram, subscribe for free, and get to know the news. And remember, folks, share this video. Unfortunately, we had technical issues. We couldn't do it live on Facebook or on Twitter. Share it with as many people as you can. That's the least that we're asking you to do. Thank you. God bless you. And shalom from Galilee, from Israel. Bye-bye.